it's probably not the biggest shock in the world. And I've probably been up against it since the turn of the year, to be honest with you. Which in some respects has probably helped because you're prepared to deal with it, if you know what I mean.
I spoke to you almost, well, it can't have been this time last year, but it feels like about this time last year. And I got the feeling that at that stage you wouldn't have been able to cope very well with it. That you and Hutch have been, battling away for supremacy at Kings, etc. And you weren't ready just to give that supremacy away. You wanted to fight to be a jockey still at that stage. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, at the same stage last year, I'd been riding out and been schooling and was preparing to return for what I thought would be sort of a late September, early October restart, and I was told to stop basically immediately at that point, which was tough to take, and then I got the knockback again. Sort of, I think it was turn of the year, and then it's slowly come to realisation, if you like.
And Jock, I mean, we're told obviously you fractured some vertebrae in your neck, and on your statement that was released today, it sort of said, those are ongoing issues. Can you just expand a little bit on that? I mean, is that something that when you wake up in the morning, you're in pain? Is it something that is causing you problems just as a normal human being every day? Or is it something that if you had a bad fall, you could end up in a wheelchair? What's the sort of scenario?
It's issues with the nerves, basically, Matt. In my hands are I intermittently get pins and needles, stroke numbness, and it's been an ongoing issue, and it hasn't really got any better. It's just plateaued. I obviously want to try and get it sorted out with one or two treatments, and it's still under management. So from that point of view, it's something I can live with and I'll deal with. Would I be happy to ride with? No, not at the minute. No.
And would you say? I mean, you've been forced into this effectively.
Effectively, yeah.
Yeah, it's fair to say you're not ready to retire, are you? You would love to be going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the case. Yeah, I'd love for it not to have happened and to be carrying on. But like I've said, over the last sort of 6 months, I've a couple of knockbacks for whatever reasons, and then it's something I'm prepared for, thankfully.
Yeah. And it hasn't been a total bad thing because you've got a young boy who you love spending time with. Anyone who does follow you on Facebook will know that, there's nothing that you and he don't get up to and do. You've been on holidays together. I mean, it's given you something there that other jockeys won't be getting with their little one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed to have him, in my life, and he's kept us going through a sort of couple of tough periods. And it's great to be able to spend time with him, and that's another issue. I'll be able to kick a ball with him in the garden. I'll be able to. He's got a little quad, chase him on his quad and mess around with him. And if he gets interested in the ponies and things like that, I'll be able to help him with that too. So, I'm blessed in that respect.
Let's talk about the fact that you were, and it seems a bit strange saying were, but you were an absolute top-notch jumps jockey. You were top rider at the Cheltenham Festival one season, weren't you? I mean, the memories must be great. Let's talk about what I guess people would say is your greatest triumph, winning a champion hurdler on Katchit, who wasn't arguably the greatest champion hurdler of all time, but I imagine to you was the greatest little warrior of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. He probably wasn't the best horse to win a champion hurdle, but he was one of the bravest, if not the bravest. Fantastic to be associated with him. He won the Triumph the season previous, and going into that particular champion hurdle, we thought if he finished in the first four, he'd have run a massive race. He dug very, very deep. Unfortunately, size in Europe was pulled up going down the hill, but he beat what was put in front of him on the day, and no one can take that away from him. So, it's a very fond memory, obviously. Among all of the festival winners, and the good horses that I've been privileged to ride.
Yeah. And I mean, Voiper Estedes, who won the champion chase for you, I mean, he was different to Katchit from a slight point of view. It sounds ridiculous when we're talking about a champion hurdler, but for me, he just had this pure class in him. When he was absolutely spot on, he was very, very hard to beat. Yeah, he did. And when he was spot on, he was difficult to beat. I mean, one of my best memories of him, best feelings I ever had of him was I beat Masterminded in the Martel Cup there up at Liverpool. And he didn't just beat him, he absolutely trounced him. For whatever reason, Masterminded probably wasn't on his game that day, or he didn't get the 2-4, whatever the reason, but it was a defining moment in his career. He was a fantastic racehorse. I think he ended up winning 8 Grade 1s or something like that. And then he went back the following year up to the Martel Cup and won a hard-fought victory, and only won a neck. Do you know what I mean? He could do it both ways. He could slug it out, but he also had the class and ability to travel in those top-class races, which made him the horse he was. Yeah, and My Way to Solzen, not many horses win a world hurdle and an Arkle. He might have got a bit lucky in the Arkle, because I remember Twist Magic was cantering at the top of the hill and came down. But, you know, at the end of the day, My Way to Solzen won the Arkle and Twist Magic didn't. And his world hurdle was a really good success as well. Yeah, I mean, his world hurdle was a fantastic success, and a very brave call for Alan to drop him back to the 2 miles the following year, which I think it was a great training performance. And I mean, Twist Magic, yes, he was cantering. I think Don't Push It was going fairly well as well behind him, and they both turned over at what was the old second last there. Yeah. Twist Magic never really acted round Cheltenham, so whether he'd have come up the hill, you don't know. And I'd like to think he was a little bit quicker than Don't Push It, taking nothing away from him. And if you go back and watch the replay, which I've obviously done numerous occasions and will continue to do so, watch him jump the second last, my lad was actually in tighter to the fence. He was in very, very deep and managed to, he was so well balanced, so athletic. He got himself up out of the way and quick away from the back of the fence. At the end of the day, jumping's the name of the game. So on his day, he was the best jumper of a fence I'd ridden and ever ridden. I'd have Strong Promise was very good to jump a fence, but My Way to Solzen was so accurate and so push button. You could have ridden him with your eyes closed. Literally, that was a great day. People might, because they'll be familiar with all the Kingy horses, but they'll probably forget that you rode Call Equiname for Paul Nicholls and you rode Flagship Uberallas for Paul Nicholls as well, 2 absolute top-class horses. Just take us back in the day. You started off with the Duke, didn't you? Yeah, I started with the Duke. David Nicholson, yeah. Great and very fond memories of that. I'd had my first 2 festival winners on the first day of the festival when I was 18. I think it was back in '97, which was it's a vague memory. It was all a bit of a blur. It all happened very, very quickly. I mean, basically, the Duke wanted me to be champion amateur and champion conditional, and he made sure I was. I was fortunate to ride some fantastic horses back then. I rode the likes of Tuchev in the boys' race, and Splendid, another horse that ended up winning a Martel Cup or something like that. I rode him in the boys' race, and they were just armchair steering jobs. So it was the best job in the country as a conditional jockey or an amateur jockey. You know, trying to come through and fantastic grounding, and that's where I made the connection with Alan as well, which just stood me in good stead for the following years and previous. So. Tell us about Alan King as best you can, because now it doesn't matter what you say. No, but seriously, I mean, the Duke was always seen as a taskmaster, I think it's fair to say. Alan King, for me, has always come across as a slightly softer person, but equally I feel with Alan there's a bit of the Duke in him, that he is fiercely competitive. How would you describe Kingy? Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a fire in his belly, if you like. Yeah. And he's got a sharp side to him, which I rarely saw, to be honest with you, my times riding for him. There must have been, come on, Choc, there must have been. Honestly, what was your worst rollicking from any trainer? It must have been. Neville Callahan. Oh, well, Nasty Nev. Yeah, Nasty Nev, yeah. He told me his granny would have done better on it than
rode a horse for him as an amateur on the flat around Sandown.
Well, did he have a point?
Probably. No, he was. That was my worst telling off. But
Kingy's sort of, as you say, there's fierceness in him, but there's a gentle side as well. I get the idea. With him.
Absolutely. I mean, he was always a 100% support. There was a period of time there, with the sort of from 2004 to 2010, I was probably bulletproof. I didn't realise it at the time. He's fantastic to ride for. On numerous occasions, you get off horses and you might be slightly detrimental to yourself or the ride you gave it. And his favourite saying was, "Oh, don't worry, Choc, it's NFG," and I'll leave the viewers to work out what that stands for.
Yeah.
Don't be so hard on yourself. And he was great. He was great, and he is great.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an ongoing connection with Alan, and I hope it's a friendship I've made for life.
Well, tell us, you've got this new job. What exactly are you doing, and who is it for?
Yeah, well, it's for two good patrons of mine, Paul Dunkley and Danny Riley. Over the last sort of year, 18 months, we've been setting up a stud. It's Apple Tree Stud. So we're going to breed a few, run a few, buy a few, sell a few, and try and make a nice little business out of it. I mean, the connection is I rode Medamet for him.
Right.
I won the Haldon Gold Cup for both Danny and Paul, and I happened to be speaking to Danny on the way home from racing after winning that, and I needed somewhere to live because of the divorce, and he had a little cottage, so I got moved into the cottage, and then he got a load of planning over the last couple of years, and he's basically said, right, what we're going to do with this, and this is what we're doing with it.
So are you going to be wheeler dealing, or you? What's...
I'll call myself. I might get shot for this. I'll call myself racing manager, stroke stud manager.
Right.
We sponsored Tom Quealy. There are 8 2-year-olds in training, one to go back in training later this month. There's plans to buy a couple more nice fillies that we can race first and hopefully be broodmares second, with a nice sort of page, and try and develop a broodmare brand and expand that side of things. I mean,
obviously that's... How shall I put this? Because obviously you're looking forward to it. But that is work, effectively, and you've been having some sort of game almost as a jockey to a certain extent. I know it's a very serious game and a dangerous game, but a game. It's like good fun every day. Do you think this will fill that void, or are you going to be a Richard Dunwoody type, banging your head against the wall?
No, I'm not. I'm not the Richard Dunwoody type to sort of bang my head against the wall. I get on with things. I've had time to sort of prepare myself for this, and it was something that was coming. You're dead right, and I was one of the best bits of advice I've ever got was off one of our valets, Alan Webb. He said, be a jockey for as long as you can, because when you give up, you have to work, and that's true. But I think I'm very fortunate to go from the best job in the world to the second best job in the world. And it's not, yes, it's work. There's an awful lot to learn. There's a little bit of me which feels like I've gone around the last 20 years with my eyes closed. I'm going to continue to learn and hopefully develop as the place develops.
You've mentioned them in your statement, but just because we're on telly now, let's just mention one or two people have been great help to you. Obviously, Oaksey House and also Jets have very much helped you and stuff like that. I mean, jockeys should never be afraid to approach these people, should they? Because they are there for you.
Yeah, never be afraid to approach them. And I mean, the Oaksey House, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, have been fantastic. Delaney Lucas, particularly. She's one of the physios down there. Over the last couple of months, Jerry Hill of the VHA has been very amenable, very approachable, which is refreshing. Paul Struthers. I mean, there's so many people you'd like to thank, and especially owners-wise, it's probably wrong to single anyone out for the support you had over the years. But obviously Paul and Danny and the likes of Liz Proutin, Max McNeil, Peter and Trish Andrews from Mad Place. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I've spoken to them all today, and the messages have been overwhelming and great.
Let's have a little bit of a quiz. Come on, Choc. Not a quiz as such, but let's ask you a few questions. If someone said, Choc, you can ride tomorrow and you can bring back any of the horses you've ridden in the past, which is the one horse, however good or bad, that you would get a kick out of riding again?
My Way to Solden, I think.
My Way to Solden, the great big My Way to Solden.
Yeah, because it was so easy.
If you could ride like any jump jockey riding at the moment...
Yeah.
Who's the jockey out there at the moment that you think is, really good?
Are we talking young or does it not matter?
Well, let's do one young and one really old one like Richard Johnson.
Okay. If I could be, if I could be a combination. I say old. It's probably not the right thing to say. It would be Paul Cowbury and Ruby Walsh. Combination of those two. Future or up and coming, Aidan Coleman and Brian Hughes.
Brian Hughes is stylish, isn't it? That's a certain mould of jockey you quite like, a sort of Carberry, Walsh, Hughesy kind.
Brian's very stylish, and he's cleaned up in the north in recent times, and I don't think there's any sort of question as to why, personally.
Was there any horse that you nearly got on but didn't, that you will never forgive yourself for not getting on?
Not nearly got on but didn't, but I got... You said you mentioned Cole Equiname when I won the Victor Chandler on him when it was run around Kempton because Ascot was off. So that was a bit of fortunate dropping on him, and I was disappointed at the time that I didn't ride him in the Queen Mother, but only from the fact that I thought he'd win, and he did win, and he got a great ride off Mick. And,
so what you're saying is the At the Races presenter absolutely dissed you. You will never forgive Mick Fitzgerald for jockeying you off.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, I will never forgive Michael. No.
Yeah. And summing up, Robert, life as a jockey, I mean, again, your statements clearly expressed that you've enjoyed it, it's been good fun, you're going to miss the weighing room, etc. But to be fair, you've had a hell of a good innings, haven't you? I mean, I think you started off in 1994, 95, so the time, so many graded victories. The sport effectively has been good to you, hasn't it?
It's been fantastic, yeah. I mean, the last thing I want anybody to think I was lucky. I wasn't. I was exceptionally lucky, very lucky to be in a situations that I got in through luck, ability, whatever way you want to put it. I look very fondly at the career I've had. It's great, and I mean, there's many a lad out there that I'd like to have sat in horses that I've sat on, and it's onwards and upwards from here.